It was the final exam of this course on operations management in my first year of the MBA program at Wharton. And we were sitting in this classroom, and next to me was this classmate of mine who was sitting there. And just as the exam paper was about to be given, he took out a packet of potato chips and opened the packet. So I could hear the sound of rustling. And after that, he started putting those chips in his mouth and munching, and the sound of munching and all those crunches, everything was coming so loudly. This guy was just next to me, all right? And I'm a person, I find it very hard to focus if there is any sound, any distraction. And this was going to be a tough exam, the first semester, and I really didn't want to mess it up. And I was getting so agitated and nervous. Oh my God, like this guy is distracting me. Should I tell him to stop? But it'll be too awkward. It'll make it weird. Maybe he won't like it. And while these thoughts were going on, the instructor came and gave the question paper, and I opened it, saw the first question, and I knew what to do. I started doing that, and after that, the next question. And before I realized, suddenly I find paper is done, 2 hours are gone, and I completely forgot about this guy sitting next to me, and I see that he's still there. The big packet of potato chips, it's gone, like it's empty. When did I finish it? I have no idea. I was so absorbed, so deeply immersed in it that I had no sense of what was going on around me. I literally could not hear those things which were distracting me just a few moments before the exam. It was all blanked out. How those 2 hours went, I had no idea. This state when you are totally absorbed in something, when you're so absorbed in a task that you lose track of everything else, you lose track of even passage of time, you have no sense of all the other things that your mind will normally worry about. This is called flow. People also call it being in the zone. There are various names, but essentially the idea is that our mind is going deep into something, and at that point, for that duration, we are just with that one task. It feels so amazing, but I'm going to talk about something which is going beyond amazing. It can give you the super productivity which we normally look for, but we can't find. And for that, I want to take you 10 years back. The story I just told you was 2005. Let's go back to around 1994, 1995. This was my fourth year in my BTech program at IIT Kanpur. And at that time, the companies were coming for recruitment, and placements were going on. And there was this particular company which came called Hughes Software Systems. They were into computer networking. I know what you're thinking, computer networking, what the hell it is. In those days, it used to be like the hot subject. Today, you might hear about artificial intelligence, machine learning. These are like the real cool things. In those days, networking was the machine learning or artificial intelligence of those days. All right. So now, when this company came, everybody wanted that job. I also thought it'll be cool to do that job, but there was just one problem. What was that? I knew nothing about computer networking. So what I did, I went to a friend of mine. I said, hey, listen, I want to prepare for this exam. They had a selection test. So can you tell me how can I prepare? So this friend of mine, he had taken a course in computer networking. He knew the stuff cold. So he took out a book and he marked some pages. 30 pages from this chapter, 50 pages from some other chapter, and so on. Then he said, look, these are about 200 pages. If you can do it, if you can understand what's there in these 200 pages, you are ready for the exam tomorrow. But when my friend gave me this book, I said, yeah, I want to do this. I sat down, it must have been around 11 or 12 in the morning. And for this next 8-9 hours, I was just reading that book. And as I read it, I would read a concept, I would be able to understand, then go to the next one. Maybe my mind this was something I truly wanted. So it helped me focus so completely and totally that for next 8-9 hours, with some small breaks, of course, I finished almost all those 200 pages. And next day I went and wrote the exam, and there must have been some 60 plus people from my department, my branch. And they selected, shortlisted 5 or 6 people. That's all. And I was one of them. And I had never done a course in the subject. I had no idea what it is. Many other people had done courses. They had spent one semester learning. I had spent literally 8 hours or 9 hours max. Even today, I remember what I read in those days. You asked me about how an Ethernet works, what's an Ethernet ring, what is collision detection. I remember all those things, but I studied for 4 years at IIT Kanpur. Ask me what I read on some other day, I have no idea. That one day is etched in my memory as something special. And what happened that day? Again, I was in that flow state. And I think what I learned is that one day, if I had learned like that every single day at IITK, I probably, my learning would have been maybe like 1,000 times more. There is a way to achieve this superhuman productivity, and flow state gives us all of that. Gives you that pleasure. It's so enjoyable. You forget about all the other nuisances and you achieve this massive spike in productivity. Now you might say, okay, but this happened maybe 10 years back, 20 years back, 30 years back. So it's probably not something that can happen every day. And my answer is no. We can systematically and methodically, we can create this state of flow every single day. In fact, I quite often write on LinkedIn, or maybe I write for my blogs. And whenever I'm writing, I set a timer and give it my full and complete focus. And whenever I do that, I almost always get in the flow state. For that 1 or 1.5 hours I'm writing, I just forget everything else. I'm into it. And in a coming video, I'm going to talk about that. But I want to leave this thought with you, which is that whatever is your productivity level, whatever is the rate at which you learn or rate at which you do work, you can be 3 or 4 or 5 times above that, provided we can get in this flow state. And we can, and we'll talk about that soon. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope to see you soon. Thanks very much.